Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Wild West Banter podcast. On today's episode, we are going to be going over week 2 of training camp. We've had some breakout players, and we've had some injuries. As always, my name is Nick Carr, joined, as always, by Matthew Griffin. Matthew, how's it going today?
You know, man, it's a Sunday at 1 o'clock. We're here talking football, having some beers, some quality time. I'm usually not a soft kind of guy, but how great is this, right? I was telling you before this episode, this is one of my favorite parts of the week that I look forward to. And I'm just going to take a quick minute to be the bitch and to say how much I appreciate this. You know, this is awesome. This is great. Football season's peaking. We're right around the corner. I live for these times. I love it. I'm super happy today, and that's it. Right. We had some morning pickleball.
Just to give everyone kind of a peel back on the onion
good.
here.
Life's good.
Matthew and I woke up early this morning. We played some pickleball. We ended up going to the brewery. We had some beers. So I have a feeling of that this softness out of Matthew is because he's had a couple beers already. So. But with that being said, we have the natural segue of talking about beer. We're doing our weekly beer review. On this week, we have from Odell Brewing Company the Sippin' Pretty Guava Lime Ale. I have yet to try this, so I'm going to give this a quick
I'll save my
drink.
thoughts till you get a sip.
Not my thing. I'm not. It's very guava forward, and I'm not a big guava guy. So I'm definitely. It's going to take me a minute to choke this one down. With that being said, I don't think it's a terrible beer.
I gotta be honest. I don't know where these came from.
It's just not.
So
my thing.
we just dug into the fridge and found a beer in there, and I don't know where these came from. I never bought these. Somebody had them here at one point in time. Not my thing either. This might be disrespectful. I'm going to go 4.5.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to give it a 3.8.
Don't like it.
I'm not a big fan. I'm sorry.
I'll drink it. It's a cold beer, but
with that being said, Odell Brewing, I'm a huge fan of 90 Shilling.
Yeah,
I love 90 Shilling.
I like a decent amount of Odell, but
this isn't my favorite.
No, me neither. Good thing we got our shock tops lined up ready anyways.
Yeah, I'll have to crack one of those open.
Yeah, before we get started, dude, so we had our first football game. Yes, Hall of Fame game was Thursday. Always a bittersweet feeling when that game happens. There's some level of interest. Just it's the anticipation that football's back, right? We had the Hall of Fame game last year, and I remember how excited I was for that. This year we got treated with Carson Beck, and actually was pretty good.
Dude, he looked awesome.
Carson Beck looked good.
Yeah.
I know this isn't a NFL-wide podcast, but we like to talk about just news around the league. And we did have our first game. Carson Beck looked good. And who was it? Knight was the...
I don't remember the Panthers quarterback name.
Dude,
Honestly,
but he had the game-winning touchdown. Yeah. I didn't get to see most of it, but from what I saw from Beck was impressive. Nonetheless, it's a sign football's back. Preseason starts on Thursday for the rest of the league. There's a good slate. Our first game's Thursday. Do you guys play?
Friday.
You're Friday.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that as we progress about what to expect as preseason arrives this week. But yeah, it's here. It's exciting. And as we've progressed we're now 2.5 weeks into camp, which actually seems crazy because I remember just a little bit ago, we were talking about all these pre-camp episodes, and now we might be through the halfway mark of camp, and preseason's here, and what has changed, what's going on. So we're gonna have some good talking points about what we've noticed in this last week and a half of camp. When we did our last week's episode, that training camp was here. Most of those were non-padded practices. It was very slowing into things. It was very premature. However, people were reporting, and we had some stuff here and there. And now I think we have a pretty good sample size of what's going on in camp. and some things for each team. So I think we'll have a little bit to talk about there. And then I think the plan, we'll just kind of spitball and see where it takes us.
Sounds great.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
kick us off.
Are we,
Yeah, go
so,
ahead.
yeah, I
Go
guess
ahead. You kick us off.
we'll are we starting with Broncos again this week? Is that where you want to start this off, or do you want to get into the ladder of
If you want to go worst to last, we can do Broncos.
Shut the
It's
hell
it's whatever
up.
you want.
All right, so
I don't care. Do you want to start? We did Broncos Chargers last time and touched on.
All right,
the
let's
issues.
let's start.
So if you want to
worst,
swap it, then
yeah, we'll start with the Raiders here. So I'm gonna kind of give a little bit of a caveat here. So
caveat.
Obviously Matthew and I are Broncos and Chargers fans. At least on my end of things, I feel like we're doing somewhat of a disservice to the Raiders and the Chiefs. Yes, we're an AFC West podcast, but we're not 100% in tune with what happens with the Raiders and the Chiefs. We try to do our best. We try to keep up to date, but we're not fully immersed in those two teams. So if the analyst is, or the analysis is a little lacking or potentially incorrect, we do apologize. But yeah, with that being said, we'll get into.
Well, and I'll caveat off that. If you listen to this and you're a Raiders fan or a Chiefs fan, or you follow them more religiously than we do, send us shit. Right? Tell us some stuff that's going on. We're very in tune with what's happening with the Broncos and Chargers because we watch it every day. We listen to it every day. We read about it every day. We feel very well versed in that regard. Now, granted, the stuff with the Raiders and the Chiefs is coming from analysts at the camp. So this is not invalid information. This is not just speculation. This is stuff that took research to get. This isn't going to be complete bullshit. But in terms of like if there's a lot more intricacies that are going on in these camps that we're not aware of, and if you listen to this and you're a fan of them, like I said, please, by all means, send us stuff to talk about with your team, and we'll be sure to highlight you on the podcast.
Sweet. All right, well, let's get into some Raiders talk. So, obviously, this is kind of the biggest news that has come out of Raiders camp this week. Kirk Cousins and Max Crosby got into a yelling match. It wasn't physical, was it?
I think it was borderline. It was enough to break their protocol for repercussions. So I think there was. I think there was some shoving here.
Yeah, so there was
no video.
Some stuff happening between Kirk Cousins and Max Crosby that ended up getting them kicked out of practice. And, kind of some crazy stuff here. I mean, for me, my take on this is obviously Kirk Cousins is a fiery guy, but very respected. Everyone views him as the ultimate, I don't know, like role model of the NFL.
Kind of like the dad of the room.
But with Max Crosby here, I mean, this obviously Kubiak showed by kicking them out of practice that this stuff isn't going to fly under this new regime. And I think by Max Crosby doing stuff like this, I would be shocked if Max Crosby was still on the Raiders by the trade deadline.
Really?
Yeah.
That's bold. Here's my take on this. I'll start with this just because I'm a little fired up today. I would pay some pay-per-view for that. So I would love to see these guys fucking
Max
throw
Crosby
it in the ring.
would absolutely
demolish
him.
Yeah, dude. But Kirk comes out with his gold chains. It's the entertainment. I like Kirk. No, here's what I'll say about this. Camp scuffles are not uncommon. No. And even on our own teams, especially when you get into joint practices and we continue. It's almost like that pent-up fucking bulldog puppy that's been in the kennel too long, right? These guys are itching, and they're itching for gameplay. Now they get the pads on. The juices are flowing. Some of them take it a little too far. They get a little too amped. They're back on the football field. Season's around the corner. This is their life. You know what I mean? And so there's a little bit there of like this pent-up energy and excitement and need to go out there and play ball that it can take them overboard and tensions can rise. And we'll get into that further on with another team in this division that we saw some of that going on. I don't buy too much into this, that it's a problem. However, I will say it did cross the line where not only were they kicked out of practice, they didn't participate the next practice. And part of what I was reading about that is we're going to go with what the league says, right? Like a league punishment would be a game for stuff like this, potentially. And it sounds like oh, fuck. All right.
Matthew's drunk.
It sounds like the Kubiak regime was stern on it, right? Where they were like, you guys are not, which gave Mendoza the chance to be QB1, but you guys are not participating in the next practice. So they were actually banned for the following day of camp, where they didn't get to participate with the first teams. So is it a storyline? Is it entertaining? Sure. Do I think it's something crazy that we need to worry about? No, I don't. I think Max will be circulating the trade rumors anyways, as we already had him dealt to Baltimore with the trade reverse due to medicals and stuff. I think his name will be circulated anyways, but I don't think this is going to have any kind of effect on his stance with the Raiders. I think the Raiders love him.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. I'll move on then. With Kirk, outside of his altercation with Max, Kirk's been throwing some picks in camp. What the hell was that? Guys, I'm sorry. I took Nick to a brewery before we record, and this will be the last time I do that. This might be our most fiery podcast yet. So Kirk's throwing some picks, and it's not a room for panic. It's, in my opinion, you know what you're getting with Kirk. I don't think there's a lot of surprises in a good way or in a bad way with Kirk Cousins. And you have a ceiling there. He's brought in as a vet just to fill a gap and bridge until Mendoza's time. So I'm not worried about Kirk. I think his time as a starter is definitely limited. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's lasting a whole year, even if that's the goal here. But with that, Mendoza did get some chances to run with the first team offense as Kirk was on the bench with his incident with Max. And it sounds like Mendoza's progress is fine. I'm not hearing raving very good, and I'm not hearing raving bad. What I've been seeing from some of the Raiders reporters is just a steady progress, which I guess is good, right? You like that. With Mendoza, you get the rookie mistakes that you're like, he needs to fix that. That'll come. And then you get the flash plays where you buy in, where you're like, this is why we drafted him. There's some capabilities that he has that made him a number 1 overall pick. And they're seeing some flashes of that. So a steady improvement from Mendoza. How that's going to translate to regular season and when he makes his debut, we'll see. And we're going to see how much we see of Mendoza in preseason, and I think that'll tell a lot more with actual game speed, regardless of who it's against. It's an NFL game that's going to change some things. So I think it's status quo, in my opinion, for the Raiders QB room.
Yeah, I mean, so as far as the whole Kirk Cousins interception stuff right now, so interceptions don't bother me in training camp because
you're a Bo Nix fan.
Shut
and you become accustomed to it.
Oh my God, this guy. All right, I'll throw some stats at you
keep going.
No, but interceptions in training camp don't bother me because this is the time of year where you want to be trying stuff.
Sure.
You want to make mistakes just to kind of see how far you can push yourself and you can push an offense. The thing here is, obviously, I don't know the context behind these interceptions. Obviously, Kirk Cousins is a veteran in this league, and he shouldn't really be making too many mistakes. But, I mean, are these interceptions coming in, handfuls, or, how does that look,
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like we don't expect much out of Kirk Cousins this year anyways. Yeah. And I do project that we'll see Mendoza at some point this year. So, I don't know. I feel like all this is kind of mute points anyways, and kind of to be expected from this group as far as quarterback goes. So,
yeah, like I said, I think it's status quo.
Funny, Matthew? What the hell is going on with you?
Yeah, I think it's status quo with the quarterback.
All right, perfect. Let's get into our next topic here.
Yeah, so tight end room with the Raiders. This is a very strong point for this Raiders team. We know Brock Bowers is the star of this group. in my opinion, I'll just flat out say he's the best tight end in the NFL. That's okay. Best tight end in the NFL, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree, disagree, but
I would agree.
Yeah. But anyways, Brock Bowers is Brock Bowers, but let's not forget they have Michael Mayer, who is a high-value draft pick as well, and very valuable in that room. What we're seeing as they're padding up and we're getting into some 11-on-11s and shit is that tight end room is flashing and they're heavily involved. That's expected. This Raiders offense is going to be focused on Ashton Jeanty in the run game and the tight end room. Mm-hmm. They lack the star power at receiver. Do they have some capable guys? Sure, but they're going to be heavily reliant on the run game and the tight end room. So I think this is expected. If you're a Raiders fan, this is something you're obviously very accustomed to and going to continue to watch. This tight end room is fantastic, if not the best or one of the best in the entire league. So having Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers is a luxury for the Vegas Raiders, and it's showing. It's become apparent in camp that this offense is going to be heavily focused on these two players in addition to the run game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add to that. I mean, Brock Bowers is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's kind of move it to the defensive side of the ball for a little bit. We're going to talk about their secondary. So Eric Stokes, he has been looking like the cornerback one out of all of this group, which I think is to be expected. He is really good. They obviously have the younger guys there, but Stokes is taking on that veteran role. He has been looking really good, and I think it's pretty fair to say that he has that CB1 position locked up.
Yeah, he does. Eric Stokes is a fantastic player. He's a great guy to have in your secondary, and he's just further showing that. I'm glad he's been able to stay on the field. I know his early years, I think it was Green Bay that originally drafted Stokes, where he had some injury struggles early on. But with Stokes, man, it's a good thing to see for them, and I think he's a fantastic player. So with Eric Stokes running that CB room, some other names you just got to keep in mind is the rookie out of Tennessee,
Jermod
McCoy, who we talked about last week, getting involved and how quickly he's going to accelerate himself into this positional group. And then I'll just jump straight into Treydon Stukes. Treydon Stukes was their second-round draft pick in this 26 class from University of Arizona. I've heard good things about Stukes. I haven't heard much bad. They're pleased with his performance so far and his progression as a rookie. How heavily he's going to be involved remains a question. But I will say I did put him on this list because Stukes did get some first-team reps with that first-team defense. And so that's a guy to watch if you're the Raiders. I mean, you spent some premier capital in the second round getting him. He's a versatile dude to have in that secondary that had a very, very impressive season with U of A. And if he can establish himself as a guy that belongs in that first team or second team, watch for Treydon Stukes to see more of the field this rookie season.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that Raiders secondary has quite some promise with Stukes and McCoy. And, I mean, Stokes is still pretty young. So
yeah. He's like 27.
Yeah, I mean, that secondary group is young, and I feel like it could be fairly good for some years to come.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, as I said with the Raiders last week, I feel like they're building this team from the inside or from the outside in, and I don't agree with building a team that way. But at least you have some good flashy names at some good positions. So.
Give you some talking points when watching them, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some guys to watch.
Yeah.
Moving to the offensive side of the ball, we know with Jeanty, Mendoza, Kirk, that's going to be your highlight there. But this Raiders wide receiver room, we talked about it last week. Kind of everybody's getting their shots here. And I'll say from what I've read from some Raiders beat reporters who have been in attendance at camp is that Trey Tucker had a great week. And he's establishing himself in that wide receiver room. We know Jake Beck's a rookie, and we know they brought in Jalen Naylor. And quite honestly, I don't think this team can sit here and say we have a bona fide one. I think it's a committee room, and it's going to stay a committee room on kind of hot hand and how Kubiak is going to run this offense. Is Kubiak running the plays? I think he's going to be their play caller. But how heavily involved and what this is going to be. If you're looking at a fantasy perspective, that's a tough room to buy in on for anybody. Shut the fuck up. God, we shouldn't have recorded today. But yeah, with this, it's going to be a crowded room that's going to be a by committee approach on hot hand and who's starting to separate. But really, we're just seeing a group of guys that are showing some flashes, that have some capabilities. But in my opinion, you lack any sort of star power or even borderline star power. I don't mind Jalen Naylor, and I don't even mind Trey Tucker for that reason. But with that being said, if those are your guys that you're leaning on as your 1 and 2, that then you're going to have a hard time stacking up against some of the opposing offenses in your division and in your conference. And we know they're going to be focused heavily in the run game and the tight end game. So we'll see what this receiver room has to offer. But with that, like I said, I just wanted to highlight Trey Tucker. Sounds like he really had a solid week and a half in camp and is establishing himself in that room.
Yeah, it's just there's no clear-cut number one here. I feel like this team is filled with either low-end number 2s or high-end number 3 wide receivers. Yeah. And, they can get you some production, but there's no wide receiver on this team that scares me.
Yeah.
So, all right, so last Raiders talking point here. We're going to be talking about Mike Washington Jr., the rookie running back from – Arkansas, that's right. So as we talked about in our pre-draft stuff, I loved Mike Washington Jr.
Liked him.
I think he's a fantastic running back. With him, I think that he has huge upside. It's just the fumbles in college were kind of scary. But, when you're backing up Ashton Jeanty, that's a pretty good 1-2 punch there. So what are you hearing from Mike Washington Jr. here in Raiders camp?
Just making a name for himself and getting more involved as pads came on and as he started to progress from the very early stages in camp. He's becoming what they exactly wanted out of the draft. And I, like you, I did like Washington Jr. in the draft, and I honestly thought he was going to be a Bronco. I think we both projected like Broncos would be at least interested or targeting a guy like Mike Washington Jr.
We got the better one in John Coleman.
We'll get to that. But like I said, like you said, I think the 1-2 punch is awesome here. You have this young dude, and ball security we know is kind of a concern with him, but the big playability and the size that he offers in the backfield is a plus for them. I still think Jeanty is going to have such a heavy role this year compared to his rookie season. I'm tailoring my expectations on how much we're going to see out of Mike Washington Jr., but we all know that running back 2s are going to get reps in this league, and it's only one injury away or one game away from a rookie or a running back 2 just balling out, right? We get those guys all the time that sub in for a game or two and they're your fantasy star and they make a name for themselves. I think Washington Jr. is a guy to watch for that. And I think if you play fantasy football, I keep tying it back to that, but he's a good handcuff option here in the event that something happens. But if I'm the Raiders, I know our bread and butter on offense is running through the run game and the tight ends and obviously the development of Mendoza. And I like what they have there. Their tight end room is one of the best in the league. And if you have Ashton Jeanty and Mike Washington Jr. starting to show some promise as a rookie, I think that's a good formula to start the foundation of an offense.
Yeah. All right, so that's going to do it for Raiders training camp, unless you have anything else to add here, Matthew.
No. All
right, FTR. So we're going to move into the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm going to start with the biggest headline here, even though it's a little bit down on the list. Kenneth Walker has been getting into some scrums here in training camp. I believe he's already gotten into, 2 or 3 fights?
At least 2. I've seen 2.
Yeah, so I know the first one was some pushing and shoving.
Threw the ball at him.
Yeah, and then this last one, he, full-on tackled.
It was a Lohi Gilman.
Lohi Gilman.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the team kind of swarmed around him and whatnot. So with this, I hate to see it. I think
Yeah.
it's stupid.
Yeah.
With that being said, for this Chiefs team, it actually might be a good thing because I feel like with the Chiefs, they've kind of lacked that tough, gritty type of mentality. Obviously, they've been very talented. They've won a lot. And there's obviously greatness that comes out of that.
Yeah.
But maybe Kenneth Walker adds some grit to this team that they needed.
Yeah, I kind of hold the same stance on this that I did with Kirk and Max of I don't think it's a problem till you let it become one. And with that, tensions are starting to flare. These players are amped up. They know the preseason's around the corner. They've been waiting all offseason for this. They get a little overzealous at times, and there might be some extra physical shots that are taking place here. That's going to piss some people off. That's going to cause that reaction. Everyone hates to see their own team fighting their own team, but it's not always a bad thing. These guys are just getting ready for the season. It doesn't sound like there's any bad blood in the room. I didn't buy anything into the first one, but with that second one, yeah, that was, if you didn't see the video, check it out. There was some kind of skirmish or words had between Alohi Gilman, the safety for the Chiefs, and Kenneth Walker. And then the play ends and Kenneth Walker just like tackles him. Mm-hmm. He just goes down, grabs his leg, and full on tackles the dude before the team swarms in. Yeah, I think this is just the tensions of training camp and getting ready for the season. I think Kenneth Walker is bringing a lot of juice and fire to this team, and I think he's so amped. From what I read, there were some reporters even out of Seattle that talked about with Kenneth Walker is that he was a little bit frustrated at his role in Seattle and how he was viewed with some of the stuff he went through with injuries. He felt, from what I've read, that the team loved Zach Charbonnet. Okay. And that they didn't care as much if something happened to Kenneth Walker because they were so infatuated with Charbonnet as their handcuff that it wasn't, he felt like his role was always I don't want to say replaceable because they're different players here, but he felt as if he didn't have that much weight in the room. Mm-hmm. And with that, I think in Kansas City, it's a different story. I think his role is a lot more established, and I think you don't have this handcuff option. Zach Charbonnet was a great RB2 to have, and he still is. Now they have Jadarian Price coming in. Mm-hmm. But with that, he is that guy in Kansas City, and I think he knows what his role is to this team and the effects he's going to have on this offense, because the last time the Chiefs actually had a bona fide RB1 that's a difference maker to take some weight off that offense and make them a little bit more well-rounded. So I think he's just amped, dude. I think he's super excited, and the skirmishes, they're fun for fans to see on Twitter and shit, or I guess not fans, but other people. That's a cool video to see, and it gives us something to talk about. But I don't think this is anything that's gonna be a problem for the Chiefs and Walker.
No, I would agree.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. So the next thing with the Chiefs here is Mansour Delane has been in the somewhat of like a no contact jersey, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Been very limited. What exactly is his injury, and should we be concerned about Mansour Delane?
Yeah, I think as a player, no. But obviously, when you bring in a rookie, you want to see a little bit more involvement in these early stages. We know how vital the OTAs are back in early June for these rookies, as well as in training camp for guys like this to be heavily involved and to making that impact on the team. So when you see a guy that can't give that full go, that sucks for the offense or the defense. The thing. Shut the fuck up. I sent this to you, and I just want to read it from here because this is what kind of turned my head. I didn't think much of it, and then Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs, his quote on Delane was, "We just haven't had the work. You go through OTAs, and it's just helmets. He hasn't had a chance to really get involved. He's missing right now. Everybody's new. We're going to have to fight through that. We're going to be lining up against Denver before you know it. Hopefully we get him back quicker than we thought." So it sounds like there's some level of concern, and I believe it's a shoulder. Mm-hmm. It sounds like it's just a lingering shoulder injury. It's nothing that they're concerned about missing legitimate time or hitting a PUP list or an early IR stint for 4 games or whatever. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's a very cautious approach to your, was it 9th overall? Well, they traded up, so 7th. 6th. So they trade from 9 to 6. I think it's a very precautionary approach to your 6th overall pick. But is it some level of concern that your 6th overall pick hasn't got to really fully participate full go with that first team defense? For a guy like Delane, I'm less concerned about it because I think he's a very NFL-ready prospect.
Yeah.
And I think Delane is a guy that when he's good to go, you can slot him in. And even if it takes him time to acclimate to the NFL speed and the game of the NFL, I still think you're getting very productive play out of him. I think he's just an NFL-ready prospect. I think he's such a great corner. I hated this pick because I felt like this is your bona fide CB1 of this class that's landing in a division rival. But with that, like obviously you want to see him involved, and you want to see these reps are very valuable for rookies.
Yeah,
and for
I don't want to see him week 1. If he can be out of week 1, I'd be stoked.
I've heard nothing that's suggesting he's going to be missing time. Just more of a delayed development of camp.
Heard. All right, so...
And it is a shoulder injury. He's still wearing a yellow no-contact jersey. He's a full participant with that caveat. So,
wonderful.
Take that as you will.
All right, so let's get into some Kansas City Chiefs O-line, and in particular, their right tackle position. We've got some mix-ups here, and we have a guy that we didn't necessarily suspect that is getting first-team reps more than the rest. Mm-hmm. Who is that guy, and why is this happening?
So last week I talked about this was an open competition. There was no starter named, and it was a rotate of several guys, including Issa Pole, Khalil Benson, and Jalen Moore. Mm-hmm. With that being said, I always said that Jalen Moore is probably your safe bet if you had to actually put money on it, just because he's been around the team long enough and he actually has legitimate NFL experience. We gotta fix the sound, dude. That shit's loud. With that being said, watch for undrafted rookie standout Khalil Benson. This guy has very quickly risen. I told you we shouldn't record today.
Matthew.
So,
all right,
the brewery was a bad idea.
It was a bad idea.
But we're given good
We should have
content.
gotten more food there while we had the chance.
Yeah.
Those wings were good, by the way.
Wings were good.
The wings, the fries, all of them were great.
Were
Again, I feel like we talk about this on every episode, but if you have the chance to go to Breckenridge Brewery, go.
Yeah,
that
if you're
place,
local.
they have good food. Obviously, beer. They do bingo on Tuesday nights,
Staff's
which is a
great.
great time. The staff is incredible there. It's a good time.
Yeah, back to football. Khalil Benson, undrafted rookie. He has started to make a name for himself. He was rotating in at that starting RT position, like I said, with Issa Pole and Jalen Moore. However, with this last week and a half of camp and padded practices and full 11-on-11s, Khalil Benson has been starting a lot. Mm-hmm. He's getting a lot more reps, and it's starting to gain some ground of not like, hey, this guy is someone we should watch for. Maybe he has some potential as an undrafted dude. He might make the roster. Mm-hmm. To now the conversations are, is this our starter?
Yeah.
That has quickly become the talking point in Kansas City, and that's something to watch here. I don't know a lot about Khalil Benson. I never saw him in college or anything like that. But I'll tell you, what he's been doing in camp for himself is very impressive, and I think it's time that legitimate conversation of right tackle, it's going to be solved quicker than we think. We like to get these starting positions solved as we progress through preseason, and certainly by like week 2 of preseason, you want to know at least who your front runners are and who solved, and training camp solves that as well as preseason reps. And I think we're going to see a lot of Khalil Benson in preseason. Jalen Moore, they kind of know what they have. They've seen a good amount of him. They still hope for that continuous progress and taking that next step and that next level of his abilities. But with that being said, I think Khalil Benson's going to get a lot of reps in preseason to show that this is not a camp standout and that what you have here is something impressive and that he is a legitimate option as a starter. So with that, yeah, I think this O-line as a whole in Chiefs training camp has been an up and down.
Yeah.
And that includes Simmons for left tackle. Kind of an up and down rookie year with a little more bumps and bruises than highlights. But they're also pleased with what they're seeing out of Josh Simmons so far. So I'm just seeing inconsistencies and primarily on the outer rings of that offensive line. Obviously, we know they have Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey that are they're anchors of that interior line. But we're just seeing inconsistencies, some up and downs on the tackles and waiting for that right tackle to truly be solidified.
Yeah, and this conversation is the one that brings me to believing that the Chiefs are not going to return to their dynasty ways. When you're building a successful team, it has to start with your offensive line. And when you're rolling out prospects of a guy like Jalen Moore that was drafted in the 5th round and this Benson guy that was undrafted, you're not spending high capital or a bunch of money on very important positions on your football team. And you can kind of look at that for the rest of the offensive line. I mean, I know that you got Simmons at left tackle that you spent a first-round pick on, but kind of a bust, at least from his first year. So it's just a very uninspiring group. And I don't understand. Like, I see people ranking like offensive lines in the AFC West all over the place, and for whatever reason, they have the Kansas City Chiefs as the second best offensive line in the division.
Today.
But I feel like this is a very uninspiring group, and obviously it's anchored by Creed Humphreys. But the rest of this offensive line is just, it doesn't do it for me. And I truly believe, as we sit here in the beginning of August, that this offensive line is what could hold the Kansas City Chiefs back from getting back to dominance.
Yeah, having guys like Creed and Trey, they raise the floor of your line. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's going to be one of the worst lines of the National Football League, but I completely agree. I have serious concerns and doubts, and I think a lot of this is banking on the overperformance and several guys taking that next step with Josh Simmons or whether it be Benson or Jalen Moore. I have concerns about that O-line. And sitting here, like, as a Chargers fan, O-line talk is very familiar to us. We've unfortunately had to suffer through that. And I don't get it. I think the Chargers O-line is far and away better than the Chiefs, and I don't understand it. I think there's too many question marks there for me.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into some of the positive stuff for the Kansas City Chiefs here. So we're going to talk about Cyrus Allen, the 5th round pick?
Yeah, Cincinnati.
From this past year, he wide receiver. So on last week's episode, we talked about how he suffered some type of injury. It wasn't anything serious. He did work his way back into practice, and he kind of picked up where he left off. He's turning heads, and the guy's really making plays. So I think with him is that do you think he has that wide receiver 3 position locked down?
I'm starting to think he does, and that's part of it is credit to Cyrus Allen and what he's doing, but part of it's also that outside of your 2 guys in this room, it just leaves enough to be uninspired about and leave question marks about. I'm glad to see that he was able to return from injury. I hate the hype that he's getting because it just worries me to think if they just found that diamond in the rough, that Puka Nacua type mid-round draft pick that just all of a sudden becomes a bona fide star in the league. He's drawn some good pro comparisons here, and he's flashing a lot. Now, with that, we talked about last week is, this is a great step, but we can't buy in too soon. And so I still think with Cyrus Allen, there's a lot to be had in the following weeks with preseason and as Week 1 is less than about a month away from us here. I think he's going to get that wide receiver 3 spot. And quite frankly, he has a very, very good chance of rising through the ranks here with the injury history of Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice. If something happens to one of those two guys that we've seen in the past, I think Cyrus Allen is going to quickly find himself being relied upon. And the good thing here is it sounds like him and Mahomes have established a very good connection, a very good relationship, and we know how far that can go. So we'll see here. It's something as a Chiefs fan I would be very excited about. And I think, you're battling. It's him and Tyquan Thornton when we're talking about that Chiefs wide receiver 3 spot. And I think just that ceiling of what they're seeing from Cyrus Allen seems pretty legitimate, that his potential is very serious in this league.
Yeah.
Great feedback.
No, I already offered what I think about the guy. I think that he's...
So I'll just jump to Pat Mahomes real quick. Only thing I'm seeing on Mahomes is more of the same. He's looking like he's starting week 1. He spoke about trusting that knee again, and quite frankly, just trying to forget about it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to play with it in the back of his mind. There's been some adjustments with putting the knee brace underneath the pants there, and what and what benefit that provides. But it sounds like all good things with Mahomes. I will say the only thing we've basically heard from Andy Reid is that don't expect to see Mahomes suiting up in preseason, which would be the first time in his career he's never played preseason. Andy Reid has always elected to play Pat Mahomes for at least a drive or two in some of these games. But it doesn't sound like we're going to see Pat Mahomes in preseason, and the trajectory is still the same. Mahomes is starting to trust that leg again. He's feeling a lot more comfortable, and all signs are pointing towards him starting week 1. I don't think do you have doubts that he's playing week 1, or are you kind of just set that, like, hey, we're playing Pat Mahomes?
No, there's no way that he doesn't play week 1.
That's where I'm at with him. So not a ton there. Last thing on the Chiefs before we move on is just Peter Woods, Clemson, rookie out of Clemson, is standing out. We talked about Peter Woods in our mock drafts and talked about the ceiling that this guy has with the right situation, with the right coaching, and if he can get acclimated to NFL. And it seems so far that he is. I think the pairing with him, learning from Chris Jones and being coached by Steve Spagnuolo and having Andy Reid and that type of organization in the Chiefs, I think with Peter Woods, we're seeing a lot here, and it scares me because I'd hate to see the Chiefs transition from the Chris Jones era to now Peter Woods is this next thing. He was mocked to the Chargers several times. We talked about him as an option for the Chargers. I liked Peter Woods, and I think his ceiling is high. And so far, this last week and a half of camp, Peter Woods has made himself known in this organization. And I think it's a guy that we're going to see a good amount of in his rookie season. And I think he might be quick to establish himself in this league.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a guy here that before this past college season, he could have been a top 5 pick in the NFL. So, I mean, the talent is certainly there. It's just what can this Chiefs defense bring out of him, and you kind of have to trust what Spagnuolo is going to do because he is one of, if not the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. And yeah, I mean, Peter Woods he has the potential to be very scary, and that sucks here in the AFC West. So, so Matthew just spilt his beer.
Do you want to go to Chargers or do you want to go to Broncos? We started with Denver last week.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with us?
Yeah, let's go to Chargers, and then we'll finish it up with the Denver Broncos. So Matthew, I know you have a whole bunch of glazing to do here with your Los Angeles Chargers. I'm gonna push back here.
I actually have a little bit of frustrations here too.
Oh, well, right on. I'm excited for this. So let's talk about some Chargers. First and foremost, we are going to be starting off with the offensive line because that is the biggest question here for Los Angeles. In particular, the left guard position. So with this left guard position, Awasika has been getting the majority of the first-time reps here, and I know that you've said that the coaching staff and reporters are saying that nothing but positive stuff pretty much from Awasika. But there's obviously some other guys that are battling for this position.
Yeah.
So give me the breakdown here and give me your honest opinion. Are you hopeful? Are you scared? What's going on here?
Yeah, make no mistake about it, this is the topic of discussion right now. You are entirely correct. Awasika has been getting majority of that starting left guard snaps at camp. And with that, we saw a little bit of a glimpse from Jim Harbaugh when asked and pressed about that left guard competition. He obviously is still saying this is a competition. We have not named any starter at this point in time, and I think we're nearing that as the weeks continue. He was hoping for 10 to 12 practices before getting comfortable to name somebody. With that being said, Jim Harbaugh did say Awasika is in the lead, and he said Awasika has been the most consistent left guard that they have had. Consistency is so key in this because that is exactly what scouts and coaches are looking for. I listened to a podcast called Guilty as Charged, and there is somebody on there, Kenyon Barner. He used to be an NFL running back, and he talks a lot about his time in the NFL on various teams, including the Chargers, and he talks about consistency in camp, and especially when you're guys on the bubble or you're rookies or you're in that starting competition. That is, the flashes turn heads. What actually gets you here to stay is consistency. And so when I hear Jim Harbaugh talk about Awasika being the most consistent player, that is very telling to me. And it showed it because in all the practices, Awasika is leading everybody in starting first-team left guard snaps. They have opened it up. We did see Jake Slaughter in some of those. We did see Branson Taylor, and we even saw Trey Pipkins, their swing tackle, in some of those. So with that, here's what I'll say. And I talked to you a little bit about this before yesterday, and this is what my critique or my displeasure is going to be, is that the reality of Jake Slaughter getting a redshirt season of not playing at all, not winning left guard, being their backup center. Obviously, in case something happens to Tyler Biadasz, we were starting to legitimately believe we may not see Jake Slaughter this season at all, period. And that is extremely frustrating. And I will get into why that is frustrating. And there has been several overreactions to that of this is a waste of a pick. What the fuck are we doing? Did Joe Ortiz fuck up? All these things. And I have my own opinions about that we can maybe exchange back and forth. But that was a legitimate concern. And if you would have told me 3 days ago that Jake Slaughter's his chances are done, I probably would have said you're right. I think it's time. I originally said last week, don't panic because we haven't even put pads on yet. We've had pads on for over a week now, and it's concerning. It absolutely is concerning. With that being said, yesterday was day 9 of practices, and who started at left guard for first team? Jake Slaughter. And all the notes from beat reporters over there said Jake Slaughter did very, very well. He had a great day in camp. Probably his best day of all of training camp was yesterday. Handling one-on-ones. He was the first-team left guard in the 11-on-11s, and it sounds like he had an awesome day. So that's really good to hear. That's very pleasing. Now, with that, today, Jake Slaughter was not the starting left guard in camp. It was Branson Taylor, which brings me to the point of Branson fucking Taylor. Dude, we drafted this guy 6th round in 2025 from Pittsburgh, and nothing happened last year. He didn't show anything in camp. He didn't make a name for himself. He was drafted as a tackle. It was very uninspiring. We were like, well, it's a 6th-round pick, so how upset can we be? And he didn't make the roster. Ultimately, he got cut, did not make the 53-man, made the practice squad. He got no reps last year. He never suited up in any legitimate games or anything like that. But now, this year, Branson Taylor transitioned to guard. And to me, I think that's actually a very smart play for Branson Taylor. I think he knows on this team, your starting tackles are set and your swing tackle is set. So for an avenue for Branson Taylor to make this team or to even have a chance at playing on this team in legitimate games is not going to be at tackle. He knows the guard position is thin. And so him transitioning to guard gives him a better avenue to make that 53-man. And it sounds like he has done extremely well. The progress is night and day from last year. Sounds like he's a way better fit at guard than he ever was tackle. And now the conversation was, is Branson Taylor getting cut again? To now, is Branson Taylor starting left guard? So that's very intriguing for us. If it's a resurgence in his career from his rookie season, I'm all for it. But I do have my concerns with the Jake Slaughter selection, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. But the left guard as a whole is still open. There is no name starter yet. If you're asking for my legitimate opinion right now, if I'm betting that Awosika is starting left guard.
Yeah, so for me, it's just we'll kind of go through all three players that you just mentioned here. So with Awosika, it's how high is the ceiling for this guy, and can you really expect top half of the NFL production out of this guy at the left guard position? And in my opinion, it's no. And we every year we do this with guys on our own team where we talk about, oh, this guy's looking great in camp, but then when it gets into the regular season, everything goes to shit. And from a guy that we have never heard his name before prior to this year, what are our expectations from this guy? I don't give a damn how good he's looking in camp.
Yep.
What are our expectations for this guy? And we can't sit here and say that they're very high.
Yep.
So, yes, I mean, is it better than what you had last year? Sure. But I wouldn't be very excited about this. Then we're talking about Branson Taylor. I haven't heard this guy's name before today.
Nor should you. Yeah.
My question here is, if he was on your practice squad last year and you had the worst offensive line in the NFL last year, why was he not called up from the practice squad when you guys were going through all of these injuries? So I don't give a damn how good of a training camp he's having this year.
Yep.
Why was he not called up when you guys had a high school level offensive line throughout the season last year? So again, let's temper our expectations there. I don't have much trust in Branson Taylor. And then we're talking about Jake Slaughter here. This guy's a second-round pick for you guys. You're talking to me about a redshirt year? What's going on there?
Yep.
That's too high of draft capital to be talking about redshirt. This isn't a quarterback. You're spending a second-round pick on an offensive lineman. The expectation is, especially when your offensive line is terrible, that your second-round offensive lineman can come in and start immediately. So if we're talking redshirt with Jake Slaughter, we're talking bust with Jake Slaughter. So this news that has been coming out from you has been extremely uninspiring. And as a Broncos fan, that makes me happy. Because this tells me that you have no clue what the hell's going on at left guard.
Yeah. So before I get into the response to that, my first thing is I'm happy it's a competition. Jim Harbaugh has one of the knocks on him, as he has said,
But you shouldn't be.
Competitors welcome. It's a competition.
You should.
And then it's not a competition because he's always had his eyes set on one specific person, and no one actually had a legitimate chance to compete against that person to be better.
That's how every training camp works.
But this is a legitimate competition, and I do like that.
And that's scary.
But it should be.
But it's
scary because
we're 2 weeks into this thing, and not a single one of them has pulled apart from the rest.
No, I don't think that. I think someone has. But I think Awosika has pulled himself.
And
apart.
Is that inspiring?
No. So to respond to yours, we talked about three players. All of your points are valid, and I'm not saying they're not. With Awosika, you're talking about what do you expect and what is the ceiling? Is it high? I will completely agree with you. It is not. It is not high. If we can get average play at Awosika, I'm happy.
But see, my point there is that average is a high ceiling for Awosika.
Yeah, league average.
So that's my point here is that,
and that's
that is the
lead
high
into something.
expectation.
Yeah. And so I think with Awosika, you're hoping he takes another step forward and is average. And I don't think
And
I
that
agree
would
with
be
you.
an incredible
I think
story.
at his high ceiling, is he above average guard? I don't.
Yeah.
I truly don't. And I'm not going to lie to you with Chargers glasses and say this guy might be the next best thing. He's not. Mm-hmm. He's not. And I didn't even care for the signing when we signed it because what he did in Detroit, where we got him from, wasn't anything. Mm-hmm. With Branson Taylor, very, very good point. We had one of the worst offensive lines in the history of the NFL, if you will, last year, and he didn't even make that cut. Branson Taylor was awful, and he was a very, very bad tackle. Branson Taylor never got a single rep or tried guard last year at all. Our swing tackles were still set. Now, granted, did we lose Slater and Alt? We had Trey Pipkins that was set as our swing tackle, as he is this year. And then we started bringing in guys like Austin Deculus, who we traded for from Houston, and then Bobby Hart, who we signed off the street. I would have liked to see Branson Taylor just step – I don't even care if he sucked, just to get him up, right? But he didn't earn that.
Yeah, but so that point tells me that your coaching staff 6 months ago didn't trust this guy.
Right.
Why do they trust him now?
Right. And that's what we're seeing is what has changed. The guard position can change for sure. Is there less liability on guards than there is tackle? Yes. Is the responsibility maybe less than tackles? Yes. Now, he has shown a significant jump in his play at guard than he ever did at tackle. Now, guard is also wide open for us, whereas tackle is not. And so with that, does he have a legitimate chance? Originally, I would say no. I didn't think he did. I didn't know he was transitioning to guard originally. So this is a surprise, no doubt. And if he's turning the corner in year 2, like by all means, I'm all for it. I hope he does. I hope he makes this roster as a guy we spent a draft pick on. Does that give me a lot of faith? Also, no. I understand where you're coming from. When we talk about Jake Slaughter, the idea of him redshirting is extremely frustrating, and that pisses me off. It does, 100%. I had the expectation in this offseason that we have $100 million in cap, and we have okay draft capital. We need to solve guard. They elected to solve the right guard with Cole Strange. Say what you will, okay, fine. I'm indifferent to it. Do I think he's an upgrade? Yes. Do I like the familiarity he has with Mike McDaniel and Butch Berry? Yes. Okay, but we still need to solve left guard. We lost Zion Johnson to Cleveland. We had the cap to sign a solidified guard, and we chose not to. That pisses me off. I do not agree with the organization, and I do not support that decision whatsoever. We should have addressed left guard with a legitimate veteran, and I'm okay drafting prospect guards, by all means. But we failed at solving left guard. Absolutely failed. Now, with Jake Slaughter, do I think he's a waste of a pick? That's where I start to draw the line of we're overreacting. Let's slow down because it's kind of what I brought up to you earlier. Now, granted, did we draft him in the second round and we're hoping for immediate impact? Yes. If Jake Slaughter is your center for the next decade when Tyler Biadasz is done, that is not a waste of a pick.
Yeah, but that's 3 years away, Matthew.
Yeah, maybe 2.
Okay, 2 years away.
Yeah, that's my frustration. Do I think that's a waste of pick? No. Am I mad about the pick? Yes.
But it is a waste of a pick because you supposedly...
In the immediate, Matthew, not in the long term.
Hold on for 2 seconds. You are sitting here saying every week that you believe, whether it's true or you're just joking, that the Chargers are going to win the Super Bowl this year.
I do not.
Okay. You think that the Chargers are going to be a very good team. And sure, I'll agree with that. But when you're in the window of being a very good team, I'm sorry, Matthew. There is going to be a center that you can draft in the 2028 NFL draft in the second round that'll be just as promising as Jake Slaughter.
They don't think so.
But that's bullshit, Matthew. That is 100%. Okay, if they don't think so, then your front office and coaching staff is extremely incompetent.
What I will say is I think their football knowledge is well beyond ours. And I will say when you have a GM that puts a blue star chip on a guy like Jake Slaughter.
That is not about NFL knowledge. Right. Like, that is very base level
yes,
NFL
there will be
knowledge.
Prospects.
There are prospects every single year that have this caliber of talent. and you could have drafted another corner, another inside linebacker, something that could have helped you this year, where honestly your corner room and inside linebacker room are not very deep. Like that type of stuff.
Corner wasn't even on the table. We drafted no corners.
Okay, I understand that, but there are positions that you could have drafted. If this Jake Slaughter guy is not going to start for you this year, and the plan for him is to start in 2029, you fucked that pick up.
And I don't think that was the plan. I think the plan was that he competes for starting left guard immediately, and that is the plan. And he still is competing for that. Now, granted, if he loses that, that's hindsight. Because at the time of the draft pick, you believed this is a guy that can come in and compete day one.
And then so this is now a different discussion.
Correct.
Is Joe Ortiz
falsely evaluating his
fucking up the draft?
And that's a good argument. Except I fully trust Joe Ortiz's ace drafts, and I fully trust him in drafts. Now, granted, with that is a different discussion, because I don't think the plan is to draft Jake Slaughter for 2028 or 2029. I think the plan is to draft Jake Slaughter with the hopes that he could start immediately. Mm-hmm. And now, granted, has that changed 6 months later? But that's hindsight. Did you know that was going to change at the time of the draft? You didn't. You don't know until OTAs and camp starts. You don't know that. You may have hopes, and you may be banking on something that you were falsely proven on, and you got to take your L's. And that's right.
I just think that this shows a major incompetence of your front office, because they didn't. When you have $100 million in cap space,
that part I agree with.
You don't spend it on the most crucial part of your team in the offensive line, and then you're going to throw up a prayer on a second-round pick, and he's not even going to start.
They don't view guard as the crucial part. They don't.
Okay,
and and I'm going to get into that here in just a second.
That is why you don't win in the playoffs, Matthew. That is why you don't win in the playoffs, because your front office and your ownership has notoriously been terrible.
The last time
at building the team the right way.
The last time Mike McDaniel was an offensive coordinator was with the 49ers under Shanahan. Okay. And he coached a team to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, coordinated a team to the Super Bowl, if you will. Let's talk about that offense that was a top 5 offense in the entire league and made the Super Bowl.
Can I just make a point before you, because I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
There is a philosophical difference between Kyle Shanahan and Jim Harbaugh. Sure, Mike McDaniel was on that staff as an offensive coordinator, but when we're talking about the personnel that was put into place by Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch,
our personnel is probably better now,
but not at the right positions.
So here's
Matthew, before you get into this. Like, you can say that, yes, you have a better roster, sure, but at the very crucial positions on a team, there is a philosophical difference between Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, and then Jim Harbaugh and Jim Ortiz. Joe Ortiz.
Yeah.
So we're
also discrediting Mike McDaniel's impact on that team.
You can't come here and say that Mike McDaniel had some huge role in the
49ers offense. He 100%
sure,
did.
But not in the personnel decisions.
No, but what he gets out of that personnel, 100% he does.
Okay.
The production he receives on offense.
So tell me what you're going to tell me. Because what you're about to say is complete bullshit.
So at the time the Niners had a top 5 offense under Mike McDaniel, made a Super Bowl, their left tackle is Trent Williams, the number 1 ranked tackle in the NFL.
Okay.
Their right tackle is McGlinchey, who was top 15 in the NFL at that point in time. Center was Mack, who was 16th. Right guard, 83rd ranked PFF guard. Left guard was Tomlinson, 19th ranked left guard. I apologize. And that goes back to Miami days too. They had the center, and then they overperformed in the tackles, and then they left room to be improved on the guards. Because Mike McDaniel, ever since we got here, and I talked about this early on, is he doesn't prioritize guards because he knows his offense can work without star guards. He knows they can. And he knows it's efficient, and it's proven because everywhere he's gone, it does it, and it works. And so with that, he doesn't prioritize guard. And I will disagree with you, or I will agree with you, that we should have spent our money accordingly on guard. I still think that. I still think we had the capabilities to do that and retain the players that we needed to. But he has a proven track record of, he had an 83rd ranked right guard in the Super Bowl. He had a 20th ranked left guard in the Super Bowl that year because he had good tackles and he had good center. What do we have? Good tackles, good center. What do we have? A good head coach, a good defense, a good receiver room, a good running back room, and a good quarterback. If I can get by because I have these pieces around him, I can take less at guard position to give more elsewhere. And that's the philosophy that they're doing. And we can agree or disagree with it, but it has proven that it has worked for him. And he believes it works for him, and that is showing. Right? When they bring in Alec Ingold, and then they go sign Charlie Kolar, and then they do all these things with bringing in David Njoku, another good blocking tight end, and building up the running back room, is that he's saying we had $100 million. We didn't prioritize guard. It wasn't because we didn't have the money to go to guard. It wasn't because we're not an attractive option, because we are. It's because we didn't prioritize sending money to guards. And everything shows that. And we'll see if that works. And I will say historically with Mike McDaniel, has it worked for him? It has. And he believes that works for him because he believes his offense can succeed with average to below average guard play.
So we're going back to the 49ers when Mike McDaniel was successful. Mm-hmm. What made him successful in Miami?
One, I think the mentorship of Shanahan. You are right. Shanahan has a large impact. And I think Shanahan had a big part of what Mike McDaniel is.
My point here is Mike McDaniel was not successful in Miami.
I don't know if he wasn't as
what
a head
did
coach,
he do in
but
Miami?
what pieces did they have to give him an opportunity?
Okay, but
I think what you saw at Tua is way more than you would get from anybody else anywhere in the NFL. I don't think Tua's a good quarterback, and I don't think Tua's going to be a good quarterback anywhere. I think Mike McDaniel gave Tua some seasons to convince the league that he belongs. When personally, I don't like Tua, right? So I may be biased there. But I think he overperformed and got an extreme amount out of Tua. To be fair, did he have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle? Yes, he did. Devon Achane. He brought in guys like Darren Waller off the street, who was retired, came in and scored like 8 touchdowns. Mike McDaniel knows how to run an offense. He is probably the best offensive coordinator, if not a top 3 offensive coordinator in the entire NFL. This guy is an offensive guru. And he ran a good offense in Miami with the Miami Dolphins offensive line ranked top 20 in the entire league, and they were ass.
Top 20.
And they were ass. They were worse than ours. And he got that out of them between him and Butch Barry.
I'm glad you're shooting for top 20, Matthew.
So, but they didn't have Joe Alt, they didn't have Rashawn Slater, and they didn't have Tyler Biotish. That's a top 10 line with those 3 players alone. I don't care who you have.
We're going to find out.
So
let's move on.
Back to, yes. So with Jake Slaughter, we will see what happens here. Waste of a pick on the immediate future. Sure. Waste of a pick long-term. Stop it. Stop that.
No, not stop it. To be determined.
Long-term. Yes. You cannot say that yet. Because like I said, if Jake Slaughter becomes your starting center and he is an elite center for the next decade, we all as Chargers fans will be
have to concede
very happy.
You have to concede the
mad
point.
Now, happy later.
You have to concede the point that as of right now, real life today, you have to feel not positive about that pick.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, and that's the only life
that's
that
why
you
I say
can live
immediate
in.
versus later, right? I'm not giving up that Jake Slaughter
but
was a bad
with Chargers fans, it's always later. Always with everything.
No, I don't
it's
know
always
about that.
It's always like we're going to win the Super Bowl this year, and this guy's the next best thing. That's always what it is from Chargers fans.
But we can't jump the gun and say yes. In the immediate, can we be disappointed about the pick? And I am 100%.
Okay, so
because if Emmanuel Pregnon is a starting left guard in this league, and we took Jake Slaughter over Pregnon instead of starting him right away, I am pissed. But in 5 years, am I going to be pissed? I don't know.
I still would be. I still would.
As a fan, we ran with Corey Linsley as an elite center for several years, and I can tell you that was the best time ever as a fan of his offensive line. Having an elite center is insanely valuable. And if Jake Slaughter's that guy for the next decade, I am thrilled that he is on our team. Thrilled.
Am
I pissed right now that he's not contributing in a Super Bowl window? 100%.
in terms of trying to win now,
that argument is fair.
You could
and that does frustrate me. You are entirely right, because I agree with you. As a Chargers fan, we're in year 3 of Jim Harbaugh with year 1 of Mike McDaniel, and we don't know how long we have Mike McDaniel. Let's be honest here. If he goes out there and torches it, runs the best offense in the NFL, people are going to be hiring Mike McDaniel. People are going to be throwing offers at Mike McDaniel to be a coach again. And I think he will be a coach again in this league. We have a window with him we need to capitalize. We have a window with Justin Herbert, with Khalil Mack, with Derwin James, all these guys. I completely agree with you. That does piss me off. And that is where my frustrations lie in this argument, is that we needed an immediate impact player, and we could have got one, and we didn't. And that pisses me off.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Like I said, I don't think Jake Slaughter's starting left guard. I just don't. And that frustrates me.
It's fucked up.
It frustrates me.
All right, let's move on. We're talking about Quentin Johnston.
Yeah. So
this guy's dropping balls left and right. What the hell's going on? He's back to his old ways.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So this episode, my goal is to piss Matthew off as much as I can.
Chargers fans need to chill out with Quentin Johnston. We all share frustrations that Quentin Johnston wasn't the guy we drafted him to be. And I think we can all come to a common ground to agree with that. Is he a bust of a 21st or 22nd overall pick? Yes. Yes. I will agree with that 100%. Do I think Quentin Johnston is a wide receiver 1 in this league? I don't. And that sucks. And I think that's a bust. But we're freaking out about things that shouldn't. We're ignoring the positive of Quentin Johnston, and we're seeing a 6-second clip where he dropped a ball and saying, this guy's worthless, he fucking sucks, because we're going back to his rookie year. He has steadily improved every single year in this league to be a bona fide 2. This guy has 16-plus touchdowns in the last 2 years. He is a weapon in this league. He is consistently, the last 2 years, over 700 receiving yards. Quentin Johnston is a valuable wide receiver, too, and he is a good NFL player. I hate these people that come out and say, cut QJ, this guy fucking sucks, trade him. No, Quentin Johnston is a good player, and he is valuable to this team. Plain and simple. I wanted to bring up some stats with QJ, just real quick.
Yeah.
Why not to jump the gun too early? And again, I will preface this by I am by no means comparing QJ to Davante Adams or his career trajectory.
Oh, here we go.
But let's look at this. Quentin Johnston and Davante Adams through 3 years in the NFL. 45 games played for Davante, 46 for Quentin. So damn near equal. One more game in QJ's favor. All right. Receiving yards, Tay Adams was at 1926. Quentin Johnston's at 1877. Yards per catch, Quentin Johnston has them. Touchdowns, Quentin Johnston has 18 to 16. And then obviously some rushing attempts and stuff like that. Don't give up on QJ too early. A breakout can still happen. And then if we're going to sit here and be upset about his drop percentage and that the guy can't catch balls, let's look at last year. Quentin Johnston's drop percentage was 6.9%. You know who that was higher than? Jerry Jeudy, Brian Thomas Jr., Jamison Williams, Mike Evans, Emeka Egbuka, Davante Adams, Marvin Harrison, CeeDee Lamb, Rome Odunze, DK Metcalf, Cortland Sutton, Parker Washington, Juwan Jennings, Keenan Allen, Ted McMillan. All these guys that people love, QJ had a lower drop percentage than every single one of them. It is overblown, his ability to drop balls. It is not his rookie year. He is not dropping balls in the NFL at the rate that he was his rookie year. 6.9%. Can it improve? 100%. Is that a legitimate problem that we need to start saying this guy sucks and needs to be off the team? 100% not. He has a lower drop percentage than some of the best receivers in all of pro football. They need to relax about Quentin Johnston. This guy is continuously getting better, and he is very valuable to this team, and I like him. I like him a lot.
So all I'll say is that, first of all, with that whole Davante Adams shit, even though you're not comparing him, you're bringing up the comparison. That's just like saying that name any 6th-round quarterback and saying that he can turn into Tom Brady.
Yep.
So let's quit it with that.
Just saying that trajectory that's in 2 years does not.
That's a unicorn scenario.
Anything.
Like I can bring up multiple other scenarios.
It's like Peyton Manning didn't win a playoff game until 6 years in the NFL.
So
don't give up.
Just
it doesn't mean he's a bad player.
Let's just chill out on that for a sec.
But it's telling the alternative to chill out. Quentin Johnson is not a lost cause.
I'm not saying he's a lost
No,
cause.
but people are, and that's my only gripe. And that's more on Chargers fans than even like I'm not saying other fans. That's our own people.
All I'm saying though is that we're out here throwing around like the prospect of this Chargers offense being the best in the NFL, and I think that there's a lot more questions that we need to be asking. And one of those is Quentin Johnston, and is he able to replicate what he was able to do last year? The drops are a talking point for me, and yes, you bring up the 6.9%, but I've been accustomed to, as a Broncos fan, where we had a ton of drops last year, in the last 2 years, to be honest, where it's, sure, maybe he's not dropping the ball all the time, but there's going to be times this year where you need a catch out of that guy in the biggest moment, and he's going to drop it. And that's when dropping the ball is a problem. So I think Quentin Johnston is a solid number 2 wide receiver. He's not anywhere near the best of number 2s in the NFL. But again, he is serviceable at that role, and the guy's going to get you 700 yards. He's probably going to get you between 6 and 8 touchdowns this year, and that's just, it is what it is.
And I'll take it. Like, it's not even going back to the draft capital, because I already agreed that he's a bust. But if he put up 400 some odd yards as a rookie, 710 his sophomore year, junior year 740, 16 touchdowns in 2 years, is top 5 in the NFL. Like, the guy is scoring touchdowns. He is a valuable threat. And if your wide receiver 2 is consistently putting 700 yards and 8 touchdowns, you are in a good spot. You just are. And he is a good wide receiver 2. And do I think QJ can hit 900 yards? I actually do. I do think he has that capability to hit 900 yards. I think he can hit 10-plus touchdowns under a legitimate offense. And I hate the discourse of they saw a camp video where he dropped a ball. Does he drop them in timely matters? He has. Was that the case last year? No, not really. It's just consistency. He's not the rookie QJ that people become accustomed to, because they saw a camp video and they have flashbacks about his rookie year because we drafted him to walk in at wide receiver 1 and be the stud, and he wasn't. And everyone freaks out.
Well, so it's just my thing here is like you bring up the 16 touchdowns and act like this guy is, and you say that's top 5 in the NFL, which great. But it's just like, I can sit here and say, okay, R.J. Harvey, I know they play different positions, but R.J. Harvey had 12 touchdowns in his rookie season, and I would say, okay, that's top 5 in the NFL. And you would look at me and you'd be like, you're a fucking nut job, Nick.
I still think, but 700-plus yards at wide receiver 2 is very good in this league.
It is.
That is good. That is an above-average wide receiver 2. And he is above-average wide receiver 2. And I just hate the discourse that this guy sucks and we need to trade him and cut him, because he doesn't suck. We just had expectations for him that weren't met, but that doesn't mean he's that he's not a valuable player to this roster.
All right.
I'll move on so we can get to
let's
the
Broncos.
Get into
the last little bit of
the last little bit for the Chargers. Tui Pelotu, full participant. We talked last week that he was holding in. He is a full participant, full pads, practicing with first-team defense. In my eyes, this could mean one of two things. A deal is in the near future. It is very close to being done, and he's comfortable with it. Or it means the alternative that he is comfortable playing this year without a deal and letting it ride, and we'll see what happens if we lock him up or we risk him testing the free agency market. But either way, he is comfortable fully participating. So we'll see. That could be good news. That could be the risk that he's playing this year without that deal. But worth noting. Last thing for the Chargers. I'm not even going to talk about Trey Harris, but things are looking really good for Trey. Rashawn Slater had a pit in my stomach when I saw him go to the medical tent. Flashbacks of last year. Rashawn Slater's okay, guys. He's fine. He's back in action. He didn't miss any time. He worked out individually the rest of practice, reported the next day full participant. So don't panic on Slater. D-line is looking really good. And I gotta bring this up. I gotta bring this up. And I'm just gonna ask you. Rushing yards per game. We start talking about Justin Herbert's success and our offense's success and our team playoff success. So some of the teams with quarterbacks that they compare Justin Herbert to, we talk about Pat Mahomes. We talk about Joe Burrow. We talk about Josh Allen. We talk about Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts. All of these guys that are probably, let's all agree, are in the same mix of tiers. With that being said, let's talk about in playoff games, when it matters most, we can agree that a rushing attack is extremely vital to a team's success, especially an offensive success. These teams in playoff games, the Eagles average 186 rushing yards per game in the playoffs. The Cowboys average 146. The Bills 120. The Bengals 100. And the Chiefs 130. What do you think Justin Herbert's teams in his playoff games, right? We're talking about 3 games here. What is his team averaging in rushing yards?
I don't know, Matthew.
29.
Yeah.
29. You are not winning a playoff game with that. You are not. And I was all for the Austin Eckler train when we had him, but we never had above a 27th ranked rushing offense, even with Austin Eckler. He never hit 1,000 yards. He was never an efficient runner. He was an exciting player, but he was never an efficient runner, even when we had Melvin Gordon. Last year, obviously, Hampton went down. Najee Harris went down. We had to rely on Vidal. But look at the rushing offense of the Chargers when it matters most. It's non-existent. And we are asking so much of Justin Herbert. When your team can't run the fucking ball, you are asking so much of a player to just... And every single defense you play knows you're passing because you can't run. You can't run. So every single team knows you're passing. So every single team.
I kind of look at this as a knock on Justin Herbert, though, because if your franchise quarterback, someone that we call a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, can at least carry you through one playoff win,
should he have?
Yes.
Which one?
Any of them.
Last year we shouldn't have won. We had the worst O-line ranked in history without Omarion Hampton with a running back 4 that didn't even make the roster.
You should have beat the Houston Texans. You should have beat the Jacksonville.
We should not have beat the Houston Texans.
Yes, okay.
We should
Matthew,
not have beat
there
the
is
Houston
a
Texans.
difference between...
You can argue we might have should have beat the Jaguars because we built like a 27-0 lead or whatever and blew it. But Justin Herbert didn't even play bad that game.
Do we want to... Okay, so we want to talk about some... I'm actually curious if you want to like...
His stat line?
Run your jaws. No.
Who was favorited?
No. Just talk because I have something because this might really fucking make me happy.
Look at that receiving room in that Houston Texans game. Ladd McConkey had 196 yards, the most in the history of football by a rookie wide receiver in a playoff game. Who was our next best receiver? Gerald Everett.
Okay, so you want to talk some
20
shit here. All right, so let's talk about some stuff. So let's talk about the Denver Broncos and Buffalo Bills playoff game from last year. You want to talk about rushing yards, Matthew? Mm-hmm. You want to do that, huh? Okay, so let's read this box score. Jaleel McLaughlin had 4 carries for 21 yards. Mm-hmm. R.J. Harvey had 6 for 20 yards.
Okay.
That is it.
Okay.
And Bo Nix carried this
and
team
what did you
to a
have?
win.
The number 1 ranked offensive line in football
Matthew,
and the number 1 ranked defense in football.
You keep moving the goalpost here.
But does that matter?
No, but this was your fucking point.
My point
you
is,
can't win a playoff game without a rushing game. I agree for the most part. Mm-hmm. But the Denver Broncos literally did it last year with 49 total rushing yards.
With the 32nd ranked O-line versus the number 1 ranked line. Do you think
Matthew,
that matters? Look at Bo Nix's time to throw in that game versus Justin Herbert's. Look at the receiver yards versus ours.
Matthew.
Look at the defense versus ours.
You're moving the fucking
goalpost
here.
But it matters.
Sure.
It's a full circle.
But
the point is
if
the rushing game matters.
Is truly this franchise quarterback, top 5 guy that we talk about.
He is.
He should have at least won one playoff game by now.
I will give you one.
And I'm rebuttaling your argument right here of this whole rushing yard bullshit when the Denver Broncos won a playoff game last year against a very good Buffalo Bills
and you
team.
can easily flip the script on that.
But Matthew,
because
I'm
listen to
arguing
this.
your point.
You argued you guys
made.
couldn't run the game, or you couldn't run the ball. You guys had 40 yards between McLaughlin and Harvey.
Correct.
Okay, so that means you had to pass 40 attempts, X amount of attempts.
46 attempts.
Okay, so in 46 attempts, do you think Bo Nix got better protection than Justin Herbert? Do you think he had a cleaner pocket to throw through?
What I
he had more competent coaching?
My argument here is that Bo Nix is one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the NFL when it comes to.
He is very good in crunch time. Yes.
No, not crunch time. Avoiding sacks and pressure.
And I say Justin Herbert is too.
Okay, but that is the reason why this offensive line is as good as it is in terms of sacks. Does he have a play of it?
Yes.
Because Bo Nix, if you look at the numbers between Russell Wilson and Bo Nix with the same offensive line, the number of sacks have gone down significantly.
His mobility and his ability to escape the pocket and work on the fly is much better.
That is my point here.
Than Russ.
Is that
but that's not a
Justin Herbert. If Justin Herbert is truly this God-tier quarterback that you speak of him as, get rid of all this bullshit that you're talking about.
But you said you had the best left tackle in the entire NFL last year. You had the best left guard in the entire NFL last year. You had a top 10 center in the NFL last year. McGlinchey was a top 15 right tackle in the NFL last year. You guys had...
Because of Bo Nix.
Not just because of. Those guys were still a proven offense. You guys were top 10 O-line before Bo Nix. You weren't top 1, and I'll agree with that, but you were still a top 10 O-line. That was an extremely... Garrett Bowles did take a step. No. But with that being said, Justin Herbert had to take that many snaps behind, as obvious pass downs where the defense knows he's passing, with an O-line that can't give him more than 2 seconds to even throw the fucking ball, with the worst offensive coordinator in the entire NFL that can't even get a job anymore.
I feel like...
there's no recipe for success. And
you're looking at this with...
and that's why I hate, should we beat the Patriots? No. Should we beat the Texans? No.
Yes.
Should we beat the Jaguars? Maybe. But that's more on the defense because your quarterback and your offense got you 31 points. That should be enough to win a fucking playoff game. That should. And he didn't turn the ball over that much that game. And they played well. He played well. He didn't play bad in that Jaguars game. They blew a lead. Because of incompetent coaching and bad defense. Okay. They blew a lead.
But
they should not have beat the Texans. They should not have beat the Patriots.
That you brought up all these statistics about rushing yards.
Right.
And then I give you a scenario of a point where...
That also proved my point, though.
How?
Is because you guys had obvious passing downs with the ability to manage that. We didn't have the ability to manage an obvious passing down because we had the worst offensive line in the history of a playoff game ever. When you guys had the number 1 and you had the number 1 defense with elite coaching. We didn't have any of those things.
In these obvious passing downs, did Bo Nix make the play?
Yes. That's my point.
Justin Herbert should make the play if he is a franchise quarterback.
I would hesitate to say, go find me plays in that game that he should have made that he didn't make. Because it wasn't there. He didn't have an option. He didn't have a choice. They talk about 4 interceptions versus the Texans. One of those was his fault. 1 of 4. Was his fault. 1. The very first one. Second one hit Will Dissly in the hands, which he dropped. And the other 2, he's escaping the pocket and throwing Hail Mary bombs because the offense is, we have nothing. And there's nothing but a prayer left to save our day where he has no option. Take a sack, throw it away, or just launch it downfield because this game's over and we can't run an offense. And he had to play hero ball. With hero ball comes those risks. Those 4 interceptions are not Justin Herbert's fault. They're not. And that's why I'd love to have Jake.
We're never going to agree on this.
But I wanted to bring up this year's rushing offense. I assume with an offensive line, with Mike McDaniel, with Hampton being healthy, with the addition of Keaton Mitchell, with Alec Ingold and Charlie Kolar, You give Justin this run game. You give Justin some passing or some pass blocking. You could see the best in offense in the entire NFL.
I'm just going to say to the listeners right now, I hope that all of you tune in January to hear all of Matthew's excuses for when
Slater's hurt, when Alt's hurt, when we have the worst center.
Yep. There's always an excuse.
Is it an excuse or is it a valid answer as to why it's bad?
Your offensive line was a valid answer this past year, but the last 5 years.
And that's why I hate. It's Justin Herbert.
The last 6 years of Justin Herbert's career, you've made excuses every single year for him.
No.
The guy is 6 years into an NFL career, and he hasn't won a damn thing.
Neither did Peyton Manning.
And
he's a top 2 quarterback in the history of football. But it can happen. It can change. Things can change.
And now we're saying Justin Herbert's Peyton Manning.
He's not. So. But in 6 years, we can't jump to the conclusion that it's that is who he is.
All right, let's move on.
Go to the.
Yeah.
Let's hit the Broncos.
I can't deal with you.
Hit the Broncos.
Right, so Denver Broncos. With this, we're going to start off with the injuries of the Denver Broncos because I feel like that's kind of been the biggest thing here. Yeah. With that, like nothing in terms of injuries outside of Matt Henningsen that have been like super serious, but it's really been annoying because I feel like every single practice, someone has gotten dinged up. We're talking about Jalen Waddle, Marvin Mims, Luke Wattenberg, Nick Bonito. All of these guys are getting taken back by the trainers, and they miss half a practice, and we're just like, what the hell's going on? And then after practice Sean Payton comes up, and he's like, yeah, they're all right. They just suffered something minor. They'll be back in a few days. But with that, I mean, this is the time of year where you can't really afford to miss out on a few days because you're trying to roll out an offense or a defense, and you're just trying to get familiar with everyone. So it's been really annoying. I mean, with that being said, obviously all good news on most of these injuries outside of Henningsen. But, yeah, it's just annoying.
Annoying is the right word for it.
Yeah.
It's funny because each of these injuries, we exchanged some texts like, concerned, ?
Yeah.
Maybe, and then quickly, no, he's back.
Yeah.
Right. With when Waddle went to camp, it was like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, we're all right. Then Mims pulls up. You concerned? Maybe. Okay, no, he's going to be back. Wattenberg isn't very serious from everything I've read.
Yeah.
However, he has been held out quite a bit. Just annoying.
Yeah.
Like you said, that is annoying. And it's scary because you go through that wave of emotions of, oh my God, fuck, to, okay, we're okay, it's just a little bit. Oh, fuck, okay, we're okay, just a little bit. It is annoying, and you just hope that they don't linger or the risk of re-injury doesn't go up. Mm-hmm. That's it, right? And with Waddle, I think it was like muscle tightness is, I think, what Sean Payton tried to describe it as. And with Mims, it was a strain.
Yeah, with Mims, it's not really clear quite yet.
Yeah. So it is annoying, and it's scary, but then you're like, you get that breath of fresh air, like, okay, Waddle's missing 4 to 5 days of camp. All right, we're good.
I'll take it.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
But it's like, fuck, I just want him out there. Yeah. I want him out there full time. I want nobody hurt. And this is that type of year where that shit's super scary. And it's worth noting that
it's just like you're working on timing with Bo Nix. Obviously, it's a new relationship between Nix and Waddle, and
and
you just want as many reps as you can. You know?
You just have to watch when they come back.
Yeah,
just that how limited are they, if any, and what is that risk of re-injury? Mm-hmm. Which it doesn't sound like it's high. So I think in all fairness, you're not concerned, and everything is looking good, but it is annoying, no doubt. I will say, if you're going to take a positive out of the Waddle, Mims, and Sutton vet days, is that Pat Bryant has gotten a chance to show out. And he has. Like, this guy is all over Broncos training camp. You can't talk about their camp without Pat Bryant. This dude is just balling out, and he's getting the opportunities. He was getting them anyways because they recognize his talent and that he was in that wide receiver 3 area. But then when you get Waddle missing practices and you get Marvin Mims missing practices and Cortland Sutton taking vet days, Pat Bryant is getting that primary role with your offense, and he is just making the most out of it. The dude is balling out, and that is exactly what he should be doing when you get a window.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it at the end of last year where Pat Bryant was kind of clearly wide receiver number 3 in terms of how many snaps per game he was getting in relationship to Troy Franklin. But yeah, this training camp has been unbelievable for Pat Bryant. Every single day, I feel like I see something from a reporter or the coaches talking of just some crazy catch that he's made and how reliable he's been and just
is this
how
year
amazing.
3 for Pat?
No, this is year number 2.
2?
But yeah, I mean, Pat Bryant is all over the place, and I would say that out of this training camp, he is by far and away been the most exciting part of this training camp.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about it. What I think that this means, we're looking at the future. Cortland Sutton signed a big deal last year. I truly believe that this is kind of the one and only year where we're going to have an offense of Waddle and Sutton, Mims, Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin. We're going to see some shakeups after this year. I personally believe that we're going to see Cortland Sutton be playing for a different team after this year. That sucks. Cortland Sutton has been such a fantastic Bronco, but the emergence of Pat Bryant, again, I understand we're in training camp and we're making a lot out of this, but it just makes too much sense for next year Pat Bryant kind of stepping up into that wide receiver 2 position.
Yeah, if Bryant can show you enough on the field outside of camp, preseason, legitimate NFL games, and if you are as confident in Pat Bryant as you guys think you are, which he's given you every reason to be, it does beg the question, is it time to pass the torch or do we risk losing somebody? Because those good things can only last so long, and whether that be Sutton is now dealt, because how many years does he have left?
3, I believe.
3. Mm-hmm. So if Pat Bryant shows enough, it begs that question: Do we afford getting some trade value out of Sutton to progress the alternative of Pat Bryant, of letting him take over our offense for the next several years and running that offense through Bryant and Jalen Waddle?
Well, and tough decisions are gonna have to be made just because
Troy Franklin too, right? Like,
he's kind of the easy one out. Honestly, if I'm saying like a surprise, not cut because we're not going to cut him, but a surprise trade at the end of the camp, I could see Troy Franklin being one of those guys. But I mean, if we're looking on into the future, after this year, we're going to have to give Bo Nix a contract.
Yep.
So you're going to have to find ways to trim the fat on the team, and I think Cortland Sutton's kind of one of those guys, especially if Pat Bryant emerges into the guy that he has been in training camp here. So, but yeah, another player that has shown some promise here in training camp is Riley Moss. So this guy got a whole bunch of flack last year, and probably deservedly so, for his play, taking tons of penalties last year, being opposite side of Pat Surtain. He's obviously going to get targeted a lot. With Riley Moss, it's the talent was never the question. His technique was never really the question. It was always about his football IQ and can he stay disciplined enough to not take penalties. And in this training camp, he has been great. And Vance Joseph said in his press conference yesterday, when asked the question, where do you think Riley Moss has made the biggest steps from last year to this year? Vance Joseph said his IQ. And that's a very exciting thing for me. Again, it's not about Riley Moss's talent, because when we're talking about his talent, he is very, very good at what he does. But if he can just eliminate the penalties, stay smart on the field, be in the right position, this top 2 defense in the NFL just got even scarier.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with the penalties. You clean that stuff up. He's everything you want in a CB2. And he is one of the best CB2s that you will find in this league. And that duo of him and Surtain is incredible to work with. So if Riley Moss can just clean that up, it sounds like he went to Florida for like a week and a half or something to work on technique with the DB's coach. And I'm not going to credit that that's the reason why we're seeing this type of performance, or if it's just things are coming full circle for Riley. But, I mean, this guy is just balling in camp. He's putting it together. You hope this translates because, yeah, you nailed it that he's going to get targeted a ton when you're playing opposite of Surtain. You know a lot of those majority of targets are going to go to Moss rather than Surtain. But he took a shit ton of penalties, and some of them rightfully so. Some of them you can argue, whatever you might have it. But at the end of the day, he has to clean some stuff up. And it sounds like everything he's been doing is exactly that. So if Riley Moss can clean up a lot of his play, I mean, this is one of the best CB2s you'll find in this league. And that duo is one of the best, if not the best, you'll find in this league. So that is extremely exciting for you guys to see this type of performance from Riley Moss that is more than what you're seeing from him. The expectations were already high. Riley Moss was already highly sought after and highly thought of in this organization. And then you're seeing this next level of praise towards him. That's pretty impressive. So with that, you you just got to hope that that continues and translates to gameplay in terms of generating penalties and that kind of stuff. So really good things to see from Riley Moss. You hit on Sutton and Benito. We hit on the injuries.
Yeah, so I just want to throw something at you here real quick before we get into the rest. So I'm going to toss out some blind stat lines. Okay, these are stats over the past 2 years combined. All right?
Hit it.
And this will go into our next topic. So, first player, 7,597 passing yards, 49 touchdown passes, 16 interceptions, 804 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns. Okay? You like that or no? Over the last 2 years.
I mean, it sounds good.
Okay. 7,483 yards, 47 passing touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 877 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns.
What was the passing touchdowns? I missed the first
47.
One. 47 was the second.
Yeah, 49 for the first one.
Okay.
Okay. And then third one here is 7,706 passing yards, 52 passing touchdowns, 23 interceptions, 786 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What were the interceptions on that last one?
23.
23, and the other one was 16.
16 and 13.
23, 16, 13. Okay.
Okay. So out of those 3 quarterbacks, who are you taking?
Can I see it?
Or
do you have the names next to it?
Let me get rid of names here.
Are you asking who I'm taking statistically has been better? Because
do you want me to toss in wins too? I mean, I can look that up real quick.
It's just statistically I can tell you who I'm taking. Does that mean who I'm taking to start my franchise? No.
I just want you to tell me who's better.
Who's statistically
better?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. What's the second one? Is that touchdowns?
Correct.
Did you put? So there's some things, completion percentage and QBR should maybe.
I would say that.
And attempts should be in here.
QBR was pretty much the same for all of them.
And that third one's interceptions, right?
Yeah. Rank those 1, 2, 3.
I would say 1 and 3 are the best of those, like statistically speaking.
Okay.
3, I believe, is Bo Nix.
Okay.
Is that right?
I don't know.
I think it is. Because I think he's had more rushing touchdowns. And I think he's had more picks. But 52 touchdowns in 2 years. Are you asking just rank them? That's hard, dude. There needs
just
to be
based off of statistics.
I think based off statistics, number 2 is the last. Even though he has the fewest picks.
Uh-oh.
But he has the most rushing yards.
Uh-oh. Sorry, this is very bad podcasting. We're being very quiet right now.
Let's go I'll stick with number one. Fuck it. I'll go 1, 3, 2.
All right. So you ranked Justin Herbert number 1.
Okay.
Bo Nix number 2. Caleb Williams number 3.
Williams was in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, but my point here is that we're very close on Justin Herbert and Bo Nix.
Statistically, yes. In 2 years, 100%.
Statistically,
yes.
Winning, Bo Nix is significantly better. But my main point here,
better?
Yes, in terms of winning, yes.
I don't know if it's significant.
Name me one playoff win that Bo Nix is, or that.
Okay, so
Justin
he has
Herbert
what? 1 playoff win more? 2.
1. Yeah.
Because you guys had the bike. So he has 1 more playoff win.
Yeah.
And we had back-to-back 11-win seasons, so a couple more regular. I don't think it's pretty close. So 1 playoff win.
We're obviously we're talking about a
2-year
career versus a
right.
6-year career.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
But my main point here is that it pisses me off when we talk about the 2024 draft class. Obviously, a pretty good draft class for quarterbacks when we're talking about Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Bo Nix leads statistically wise and win percentage wise out of all those guys in the 2024 draft class. I just threw Justin Herbert in there just to have him in there. But when we're talking about that 24 draft class, Bo Nix is the best guy out of that class when we're talking wins, statistics. Like, there's nothing else that you can argue there. Yet, for whatever reason, I feel like the minority are the people that believe that Bo Nix is one of the better ones out of that draft class, and the majority is people put him at number 4 behind Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. And that doesn't make sense to me. So I want to get your view on that. Why do people put Bo Nix at number 4 in that class when he has proven to be better than all 3 of them?
Yeah. There's no blanket answer to that. I think it's because people love the potential of Drake May and Caleb Williams. And
but that's my point.
And I'm not
here.
saying that's fair.
It's not fair.
I'm not.
Because
right,
I feel like we're so attached to
fair.
what players were able to do in college, what their prospect was in the draft.
But you have to understand.
And we don't assess what they do in the NFL.
Right. And people are going to hold on to that. And we can disagree with that.
Well, I know
I'm on your side on that.
But you're not on my side because you still do the same shit with Justin Herbert.
How so?
I mean, he hasn't really done much in the NFL outside of his
first. Say he hasn't done much. He broke all the NFL records as a rookie. The best rookie season we've ever seen in the history of the NFL. More passing yards than any QB in history in 3 years.
I'm glad that you made that point, though, because Bo Nix is in that same conversation as Justin Herbert when we're talking about what they've done in the NFL. And that's what I'm saying.
If you're comparing,
you don't put them in the same conversation because
Bo Nix is not as good as Justin Herbert. He's not, and you know he's not.
But why though? Because of what they were as a prospect.
And what they do. If Bo Nix ever hits a 5,000-yard season,
I think
let me know.
I think he'll get very close.
Let me know because I don't see that ever happening.
I think he'll get very close this year.
But with that, he's projected 3,700.
I don't give a fuck what
you think he outperforms it by 1,300 yards? No way.
I think he's closer to 4,500 yards.
We projected maybe 4,000, maybe.
I think that he can get to 4,500 yards this year.
He will never sniff a 5,000-yard season.
Okay.
I just don't think he will.
Okay, watch.
And I think he can get a 4,000, but 5,000-yard season, I don't think we understand.
But when we're talking about the records that Justin Herbert's broke, so is Bo Nix in his first 2 years?
I'll compare their first 2 years of career, and Justin Herbert blows him out of the water.
Oh, but I'm simply talking about the record-breaking shit that you're talking about.
And you're talking about what they've done in the league. And I agree with you. I gave an answer to the hypothetical of what people are holding on to. And I agreed with you that I don't think that's necessarily fair. Has Bo Nix shown more in the NFL than Caleb Williams? Yes. I also agree with that. Jaden Daniels? Yes. I agree with that. Drake May? Yes.
He has.
Yes. Last year, obviously, boost Drake May up, making a Super Bowl, and what he did, putting together an MVP caliber season. Yes. I can understand both sides of it, where I see why people will gloat over Caleb Williams. And I like Caleb Williams. I don't dislike him at all. And I think he's actually going to be a very good quarterback for a long time. But I think when you have the hype of a number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams, whether it be fair or not, he's going to get more attention, more praise, and it may not be necessary. I agree. Bo Nix has done more than Caleb Williams has in the NFL. 100%. He has. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not arguing that by any means. Does that mean, will more people pick Caleb Williams over him? Yeah, they will.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't argue the same point that you do with Justin Herbert as Caleb Williams, because Caleb Williams has a very good offensive line. Their defense has been good. Yeah, not as good as the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, it's decent.
He has the things around him just like Bo Nix does. And Bo Nix has outperformed Caleb Williams.
He has. Yeah, he has.
So I just...
I
hate
agree.
this whole like what they were in college and what they were as a prospect argument.
Right. And that won't go away.
Well, it's going to go away after this year when Bo Nix throws for 4,500 yards.
Yeah, it's not going to go away.
So, all right. Well, yeah, that's as we're on the topic of Bo Nix, there's not really much to talk about. But Davis Webb had his press conference yesterday, and he was asked the question, what progress has Bo Nix made from year 2 to year 3? And Davis Webb said that the biggest progression that he has made is his ability to kind of take more time with each read and his deep ball accuracy. And those are the biggest steps that I feel like I need to see from him. Yeah. I feel like with Bo Nix, it's kind of been a blessing and a curse of he moves on from every single read very quickly. Yeah. And while that's not a good thing because you need to allow time for receivers to run their route, get open, all that stuff. But it's also been a good thing because Bo Nix has been able to move on quickly and extend plays with his legs if he needs to. So it's like I said, been a curse, but it's also been a superpower for Bo Nix. But I would definitely like to see him settle in, stay on a read, and make the right play. We talk about Bo Nix's deep ball accuracy, and you're going to throw out numbers. But he has been really good. I feel like everyone's made comments of his arm strength. That is not a question.
No, he has arm strength.
His arm strength is up there with...
Statistically, he hasn't been very good.
Yeah, but... Yes. But we're also... I'm going to argue on that Bo Nix has had 400, based off of last year, 400 missing passing yards based off of drops.
Right.
If you want to talk about drops, we have to talk about that. That's by far the most in the NFL. 400 yards last year that he did not get from drop passes. So I just think that we need a better showing from the entire offense this year, and we're going to see what Bo Nix is really about. Again, we bring up that 400 yards missing from his yardage total by drops, and that's why I'm comfortable with saying that he can certainly reach 4,500 yards this year.
So is that, let me ask you this, is that an excuse? No, it's context.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, Bo Nix could have added 400 yards, but his receivers made a lot of drops. Uh-huh. That's context that matters, and I agree with you that does matter, and that impacts Bo Nix negatively when it's not his fault. Mm-hmm. That's my argument on Justin Herbert. There's a lot of things that are not his fault that impact him negatively.
Sure, but I feel like there's much more discourse in a negative way against Bo Nix than there is on Justin Herbert.
Yeah, it depends where you go. There's some real Justin Herbert haters. But yes, I can understand that, especially when he's ranked like 18th or 19th.
And that's diabolical.
And I can understand that. You're right. Yeah, that makes sense. With the Bo Nix talk, you talked about it in prior podcasts that Bo Nix is at his best when he's thinking on his feet.
Correct.
And I agree with that. He is very, very good at on-the-fly quarterback play.
Yeah, backyard football.
Yeah, he is. He is very good at that. And so this settling in year 3 is going to be a huge thing for him. Especially, we talk about the middle of the field.
Yeah.
We talk about the deep ball. We talk about settling on routes. Those are the things in year 3 you need to see from him.
Correct.
To put him on that jump.
Well, and I hate that I make this argument or this comparison a lot because, again, I want to preface it by saying that I don't think that they're the same quarterback because I would be diabolical to say it. But Bo Nix heading into year 3, I see a lot of similarities as Josh Allen, and Davis Webb was with Josh Allen.
No, I think that's fair.
And we're talking about the first 2 years of Josh Allen, and people were not anywhere near calling him a franchise quarterback. Right. But it was that third year for Josh Allen where he really became Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And there are so many similarities there that it's insane.
Yeah. No, I don't think you're comparing him at all, and that's a very fair assessment. I completely agree. This year 3 expectation jump is very similar to the trajectory of what Josh Allen experienced in his first 3 years of the NFL. And that's what I think people have come around. I think people are very bullish on Bo Nix to start, myself included. I think people have come around that Bo Nix is good. He's okay.
think some people have come around to that.
That he's fine. I don't think a lot of people have come around that Bo Nix is great or that Bo Nix is that borderline top 10 guy that can reach you to promised land. I don't think a lot of people have come around to that. I think people have started to turn heads with the last 2 years of saying, okay, this guy is better than I thought, but he's not that. This is the year he can change that. Yep. And this is a very, very big year. When I showed that video just before we started of that guy, he started out shitting on Bo Nix just with the statistical stuff. But he's like, the biggest question mark of this team is Bo Nix. I don't think it's the biggest question mark, but I think the biggest X factor, this is such a crucial year for Bo Nix to show everyone and basically shut everyone up.
I would say that it is. I would say that it is the biggest question mark.
He needs to make that jump.
Because even as the biggest Broncos fan in the world, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to sit here and put Bo Nix in the top 10 of NFL quarterbacks. I think that he's close, but I'm not going to put him in the top 10.
Sure.
And for me, if you're trying to build a Super Bowl team, you need a top 10 quarterback. And this year says a lot about what Bo Nix is going to be.
Absolutely.
So
do you think you can contend for a Super Bowl if Bo Nix is the same as he was in the past? I mean 2 years.
Yes, I do. Especially,
so you're saying you don't think you need him to be a top 10 quarterback?
I think that he is. If he replicates what he was able to do the past 2 years, I think that does put him in the conversation of being a top 10 guy.
But you just said outside of the last 2 years, you don't believe he's a top 10. You think he's
because
close.
it's very close, but there's still questions.
And we don't know what
there.
other people do.
Yeah.
Right?
But my thing is like the where I have questions, it's not the statistical stuff, but is he able to replicate the fourth quarter heroics? And if that is who Bo Nix is, then I would put him in the top 10. And I would say that we can win with him. Because
see more of it, is what you're saying? Okay.
But I can't sit here and say that, I would be stupid to sit here and say that is who Bo Nix is. We've only seen one season, really, of all these miracle fourth quarter comebacks where he is just unbelievable. But if he is able to replicate that, then yes,
I'm glad you brought that up because that is a big question mark. When people talk about Denver in not wanting to say negative fashion, but they're more bullish on Denver because of the context of their season last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of the stuff, and we can agree or disagree, but a lot of the stuff that people will say is you won a lot of games you probably shouldn't have won, right? There was a lot of one-score games that went your way that probably shouldn't have gone your way, right? That's what people will say. Again, we don't have to agree to it, but that is what people will say. You guys were 11-2 in one-score games. That is incredibly impressive, first of all.
Correct.
That is very, very impressive.
Yeah.
Is that something that is consistent? I don't think so. Historically, no. The answer is
so.
no.
My thing is, the progress that I need to see from Bo Nix this year is he able to start efficiently? And what I mean by that is he able to start every game in the first quarter and not start slow every single time?
Yep.
That is my biggest gripe with Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Is we come out every single game so flat.
Yeah.
And then it comes to the fourth quarter, and we're down by 6 points because our defense has kept it in us. And then Bo Nix finally says, okay, I'm the fucking man. Yeah. I can do this.
Yeah.
So the things I need to see from Bo Nix this year is he able to, on a consistent basis, come out hot, or not even hot, but just regularly good.
Because I'll tell you, I don't think that is sustainable and historical. And maybe
I don't either.
It's not a winning formula.
But what I will say,
and that's not to discredit.
And again, I was giving you shit on making comparisons earlier, but I'm going to make a comparison to a former Broncos quarterback, a Hall of Fame legend quarterback in John Elway. This was his MO.
Yeah.
John Elway was the fourth quarter comeback king. That's what he made his career on.
Yeah.
So is it possible to be that guy? Yes, it is. Is it sustainable, and is it really tough to do that? Yes, it is.
Yep.
But, maybe that's just a part of his DNA.
Right.
And that's why I believe that this year 3 for Bo Nix is extremely crucial to find out what we actually have. I'm going to sit here and say that I believe that he is a top 12 guy as it stands right now. But yes, I need him to start games better, and I need to see him replicate some of the fourth quarter heroics again for me to say
that's
that, okay,
fair. Yeah.
He is our guy.
Yeah, very fair. That's a great point, because like I said, and it's not even discrediting the 11-2 record at one-score games. That's fantastic. Any team will take that. Like, I don't care. You always hear, I don't care how we win them. It's a win.
Yeah, because
a win by 1 and a win by 30 is a win on the record.
What I hear from Broncos fans a lot is, we have a good defense and they keep us in these positions for Bo Nix to win. Okay, but what happens literally next year when we're paying Bo Nix $55 million a year and we don't have, such a deep team?
Right.
Like, Bo Nix is going to have to be the guy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. And we've been on the flip side. You guys have been extremely successful in these one-score games, specifically last year. We, on the other hand, have not been. When you look at the Charger seasons where we're missing the playoffs just on the cusp, or we're hitting these 6 to 9 win seasons, we're dropping like 7 games by one-score games that we can't finish. We cannot close out close games. And it's so easy to look at, oh my God, like we had 7 games we lost by 1 score. You flip half those, we're a playoff team. And we've been on the opposite side that you guys have been on. So it's very familiar to see how it is on your side. A win's a win. And I won't ever argue that. A win is a win. Yeah. But is that type of football sustainable? And that's something we're going to see this year. Is that something, like you said, maybe that's his DNA where, hey, it is sustainable because we pull it off and we continuously pull it off. And if we continuously pull it off, I don't care how we're getting them, we're getting them. Yeah. And if that's the case, by all means, like, I respect you, so be it. That's awesome. You guys found a way to do it. But there have been doubts that is not sustainable football.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, with right now, I feel like I have enough of an argument statistically, to say that Bo Nix is good at what he does.
He is good at what he does.
But with that being said, I'm realistic in the fact that I do need to see Bo Nix start games better to finish or to become the full-fledged franchise quarterback that we are expecting him to be.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is the fairest place to be as a Broncos fan. And I would say 90% of Broncos fan, and I get it, we're excited. We went through 10 years of hell to get here. I get it, but, like, guys, let's be honest with this situation.
Yeah.
Like, what Bo Nix has done, like, we need to see it one more year before we fully crown him.
Yeah, and I respect that. I wish more were like that for sure. I'm going to bring up one comparison that's outside of football, but is in comparison to when you brought up Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and we're talking about guys like that. Mm-hmm. The one thing I'll say, and this reminds me of an argument that's outside of football, but coincides with it, is LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Okay, when a lot of the counter arguments that you get from fans of the LeBron James side is that Michael Jordan was drafted into an organization that set him up for success right away, whereas LeBron James was not. Right, stepping into an organization that is, I don't know, very well formed, that is very routine, that has a winning culture, that has a Hall of Fame type coach, that has talent, that set him up based on his skill set and his abilities to succeed right away and to flourish in that organization for a long time. Now, granted, does that make him a better player than the alternative? I don't think it does. But does that make him statistically or career trajectory or legendary better? Maybe, right? But then you just argue the player versus the resume, and that's what as LeBron James and Michael Jordan fans often argue: is someone a better player, but one has a better resume? Because one might be better on paper, but one's actually a better player if you watch it and if you pay attention to it, right? And again, I'm not trying to argue one way or another. I'm just bringing up that point of when you say, why are people putting Caleb Williams and Drake May and Jaden Daniels and whoever above Bo Nix and stuff like that, you're going to get those counter arguments of one set up for success and one's not. That doesn't make that one a better player than the other. That makes him better on the field, better statistically, better resume, if you will, from wins and accolades. But that doesn't make him a better individual player than the other player, right? And that's the argument that you get. That's the argument that you see if you're a basketball fan with Jordan and LeBron. Yeah. Right? That LeBron wasn't in that position to have that type of career right off the bat that MJ did because of LeBron's position with the Cavaliers. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so that's the argument that you get is like, are we comparing resumes and statistics or are we comparing individual players? And that is a very hard thing to do. It is a very hard thing to do. When you compare statistics or we're just gauging individual capabilities, because then it's like the eye test and what does he do in drills, truly, right? Like who can throw farther, who's more accurate, who's more like. So that's just an important point to point out with arguing player versus player is very, very hard because a lot of the arguments when you, and I don't know if he watches, but we talk about Jake Locker. That is a very common argument with him. When you compare Herbert to somebody, it's, he's 0-3 in the playoffs. Does that make him a worse player, or does that make him less of his resume less impressive? Mm-hmm. When we compare LeBron versus Michael's got 6 rings, LeBron's got 4. Does that make him a better player? I think no. I think, again, this isn't a basketball problem, but I think LeBron's way better. I would say
with this, though.
But that's the arguments that you get.
Yeah, I would say with that, though, like, it's not completely apples to apples because like the franchise quarterback is known for elevating the tides around him.
Yeah, commanding the team, commanding the offense.
That would be my biggest argument against Justin Herbert. Yeah, I don't want to get into this right now.
Yeah,
but
we'll be on for another hour.
Yeah, that is my biggest argument against Justin Herbert being the full-fledged franchise quarterback is that all of these excuses around him, if he's the franchise guy, he should be able to elevate all the tides around him.
and I said we're not going to get into this.
Yeah.
My only response is elevating other players, sure. What I'll say is doing more with less. There's not many people in this entire NFL that do more with less than Justin Herbert. That's just, again, I don't want to get into a whole hour long.
All right, we're getting back into Chargers camp here. I don't like that. All right. No, we have one more topic here for Broncos camp. We'll talk about it really quickly. I don't even know if you need anything to say. But we're going to talk about Jonah Coleman for just a second. The guy's been really great. His vision has been fantastic. Running in between the tackles has been promising. It's been one of his strong sets. And Sean Payton has said that he is years beyond what a rookie should be in terms of his demeanor, his knowledge, and just his performance in general. So, again, we're in training camp. Who knows what that's all about, but some promising stuff out of Jonah Coleman. It just is. It goes to show what kind of depth we do have at that running back position.
Yeah, and that's just extremely important for this Broncos offense, establishing that running back room, so that hopefully you don't need Bo Nix to throw 45 times a game. You know what I mean? And that's. I hate to go back to Charger stuff, but with Mike McDaniel, what he said, he's like, how do we get the most out of Justin Herbert? We have him do less. We don't need him to do more. We need him to do less. And that's sometimes less is more. And I think that can be something that can translate to both of these teams. You have to understand the inevitable J.K. Dobbins and the concerns there. And having the development of Jonah Coleman that you're seeing outside of just his ability to be a pass-blocking running back, but his ability to be an efficient runner is going to be extremely important for your team.
Yeah. All right, so we're at 2 hours and 15 minutes right now.
You know what's funny is we could go 2 hours more.
I believe we're at 2 hours.
But, yeah, this
2 hours and 11 minutes to be exact. So
yeah, long
holy
episode.
cow.
Long episode.
Who knew? I mean, we thought that this was just going to be like a quick training camp, week 2 type of thing, and then we started arguing. It turns out we just need to start drinking, and we start talking a lot more. So, but yeah, no, this was fun. We went for way too long today. But yeah, I mean, Matthew, do you have anything else to add?
No, just stay tuned. Like I said, more is coming. Things are only ramping up, and it continues to ramp up throughout training camp. We have preseason on Thursday, and I think we're going to have some reactions to what happens in the first week of preseason for some of these guys that are maybe on the roster bubble or rookies and stuff like that. So stay tuned. We got a lot more coming. This is full steam ahead. I mean, the season's right around the corner. We're prepping for fantasy drafts. We're ready to go. So stay tuned. We got more coming, and hopefully more episodes. We're aiming for 2 a week instead of 1 a week, and so hopefully these aren't 2 hours long, and we can do 2 different episodes.
They still will be.
Yeah, they might be. But, yeah, no, that's all I got. It's been good. It's been fun. A lot of good talking points, which we didn't know what we'd have to talk about, and then here we are. 2 hours later, we have great stuff to talk about. So, yeah, it's been great.
All right, well, yeah. No, thank you to everyone that listens. We do appreciate you. If you want us to talk about anything, specifically Raiders, Chiefs fans, let us know, please. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your week, and
Bolt up.
Go Broncos.